How's it going, everybody? My name is Isaiah, this is Oregon Rockworks, and today I want to talk about Dinosaur Gem Bone. Gem Bone occupies a unique spot in the world of lapidary. It took me years of collecting rocks before I had any concept of how unique and fantastic some of it can be. The history is complex and strange, and sometimes cutting and polishing it can be equally so. Today I'm going to show you a range of Dinosaur Gem Bone, structured once again through the lens of 10 levels. Compared to other lapidary materials, there's a lot more gray area here. First of all, these are pieces of dinosaurs, so there's an inherent value that comes with that beyond just grinding and cutting and polishing. I want to give some big picture context for this material and help you understand why people could value this stuff for different reasons. It's not just about jewelry, it's not just about the scientific value. So come along, this is a fascinating material with so many different aspects to appreciate. Starting here with level 1.
This is entry-level bone. Basically what we can say is it's a dinosaur. You can almost make out some cells, but this stuff is crumbly, it has no color, definitely no lapidary value. Specimen bone only.
In order to keep the scope of this video from spiraling out of control, I need to be clear that I'm talking about gem bone from the Morrison Formation in the western United States. Specifically, mostly Colorado and Utah, but a lot of this is also found in New Mexico, Arizona, Montana, Wyoming, maybe a little bit in Nevada as well. There is a lot of dinosaur bone in the world. Most of it falls into the category of specimen bone. Generally, when we're talking about specimen bone as a category, that's not going to be covered here today.
In level 2 we have some more obvious cells, not much color, still not a whole lot of lapidary value. A lot of times you'll be able to just break this bone apart.
There are two main components in gem bone: trabecula, which is the structure of the bone, and cells, which are the open space where the blood flows. When we say cells, we mean cells in the sense of voids, not biologic cells.
In level 3 we start getting into some color. The trouble with these pieces is that they're mostly calcite. Calcite is soft, it's not very durable, and it reacts with mild acids, so it's really not suitable for jewelry. Here's a piece with some well-defined cell structure and multiple colors, but this bone has a lot of structural issues. This is going to be difficult to work with. Here's an example of some bone that's a bit harder and more solid, but this severely lacks visual interest. It's interesting because this is the outside of the bone where the cells are packed so tightly together you basically can't see anything. It's getting better as you move toward the core of the bone, but there's not much worth working on this little piece.
Gem bone from the Morrison Formation is roughly 150 million years old, from the late Jurassic period. I'm an Oregon guy, so that seems really old because Oregon is one of the youngest states geologically. You'll notice in some of these macros that this bone is fractured up. It has been through a lot. The fact that they've endured these geologic forces makes the good ones a little bit extra special.
We've got some good things going here in level 4 gem bone. Unfortunately, we don't have everything going for it. So you'll see bone like this, which is super hard and solid, almost no color, pretty visually boring. But it's gem bone, and it's hard. You can cut and polish this stuff, no doubt about it. Here's a piece with some pretty decent specimen value. It's a full cross-section of a bone. We have the exterior of the bone all the way around, and it's got some good colors. However, the cells are lacking. The center is filled with calcite, which is soft. This piece will not stand up to cutting and polishing without some form of stabilization. Here is a large slice of nice bright red gem bone. It's got some good specimen value, the colors are there, the cell preservation is there. This piece will not withstand cutting and polishing unless you do something to preserve it. Think of treatment not so much as a way of making bad bone good, but as a way of preserving. This piece has a lot going for it and could make some fine jewelry, it just needs some assistance.
Treatment typically consists of adding some type of epoxy to the bone. Hextol is a great product, but superglue is used frequently.
Moving on to level 5, we've got nice, well-balanced bone. This piece has all the characteristics that you would like: visible cells, multiple colors, nice solid texture. You could certainly cut jewelry with this stuff. It may lack a little bit of visual oomph that you might hope for if you're going to spend the time to cut and polish and set a piece, but you're even getting into some nice details within the cells at this point. Nothing to complain about here. This is nice bone, colorful, solid, well balanced. Unlike most materials that I work with, Gembone is composed of multiple hardnesses. Typically, the Trabecula is softer than the agate-filled cells. I've had some difficulty polishing this material because abrasives don't cut as consistently as they do with materials of uniform texture, and the Trabecula tends to undercut. You will notice many scratches in these pieces I'm shooting under magnification. They are all pieces I polished, and generally I'm pretty good at polishing rocks. There's something about the diversity of mineralization in Gembone that makes it really hard to achieve a good flat polish. I categorize level 6 as material with obvious lapidary potential. This is colorful, it's detailed, it's hard enough to cut and polish. It may not be perfect. Every piece is going to be a balance between the different factors. It's hard to get AAA 10 out of 10 texture, color, pattern, detail, contrast in every piece. But this is the kind of bone that's fun to look at under the microscope. It's got contrast, it has details, multiple colors, larger cells at this point too. Sometimes you'll get bone with more of an open cell structure where one cell leads into the next. And this is the point where the variety in color, pattern, and structure becomes so vast, you'll have to look at what I'm presenting as just a snapshot. That's part of what makes this such an exciting material to collect, as is the case with honestly anything worth collecting. The variety keeps us coming back for more. You've never seen it all. What you just saw in level 6 is absolutely suitable for jewelry, as is everything else you're about to see throughout the rest of this video. Moving into level 7, we encounter pieces that are special or unusual in some way. In this case, we have a whole cross-section of a bone with a large rotted core and some wild cell displays in the center of this piece. Here's a cross-section of a vertebra. An interesting thing to notice here is where the cells get smaller and the pattern becomes more compressed. Those are likely the more structurally dense portions of the bone, so around the outside of the vertebra, and then also protecting the spinal cord. This here is likely just an air pocket in the bone. At this level, we start to link back to the biology side. These bones are preserved well enough that we're able to start making biological observations once again. This is green dinosaur bone, which is remarkable because it's a very rare color. Perhaps not the most visually striking cell display, but the colors are quite interesting. It's very hard bone. This type of piece becomes more valuable and more collectible because of that. This piece is small, but it gets into a couple other wildcard features. It's really cool how the bone goes from this closed trabecular structure to a wide open one, and then terminates in fortification agate and smoky quartz crystals. As I was saying, in level 7, it becomes slightly more apparent that we're looking at pieces of animals. The biology is more clear. We've got the entire exterior of the bone intact with the big open spaces in the middle filled with colorful mineralizations. Here's a slab that is quite large, very hard material, and once again this is giving us some more biologic cues. I don't know exactly what type of bone this is, but these larger internal structures begin to give sort of a sense of how blood circulated within the bone. And to close out level 7, here's another interesting cell display. I believe this is probably a piece of a vertebra. Typically the cells sort of radiate away from the spinal cord. I'm thinking the spinal cord is probably about in here. This is not a complete cross-section. You get that really nice, what's often called a peacock pattern, where you have these sort of stacked sprays of cells. I've been showing bits of macrophotography throughout this video. It's interesting that what shoots well under magnification is not always what looks the best in hand, but it's another aspect of what makes this material so enjoyable. This is one of the only pieces of specimen grade gem bone that I have. Some things to notice here: the cells are much more tightly packed around the exterior of the bone. Sometimes that's referred to as cortical bone or structural bone, whereas this open, hollow center with the sort of broken trabecula, that's called trabecular bone. That's generally where the blood flows. Very cool, because we have a complete cross-section of a bone with a beautiful, hard, colorful center. Here are some polished pieces that I would put in this level 8 category. Bold colors, intense contrast, larger cells, details within the cells. Generally, orange is my favorite color to see in gembone. It's few and far between, but I love it when I can find it. Here is a piece with some great orange color in it. Personal preference weighs heavily into the video at this point. I'm adding this one to level 8 because I particularly like the exterior of this piece. This has a great example of what is considered a desert varnish, where this piece has been surface exposed for millions of years, and the sun and sand and wind have sort of blasted this piece and given it a clean, smooth, almost waxy exterior. However, another interesting thing to notice is that while the agate cells are hard, the minerals that make up the webbing, or the trabecula, are quite a bit softer. And so you'll notice that this has sort of differential weathering, where the cells are raised proud above the webbing. Inside, the colors are maybe not quite as spectacular as the outside suggests. Maybe not the best for jewelry making, but I really enjoy end cuts. It really gives that sense of context. This piece does not have the best structure of the pattern. I would say the colors are top-notch. I really enjoy the color scheme we're seeing here. But the cells don't quite have that rich intensity that the very best has. A lot of gembone contains uranium, which makes it radioactive. This is more a curiosity than anything, but I would still suggest practicing common sense when cutting, grinding, and working with this material. The most radioactive pieces in my collection are about 15 times the intensity of the background levels here in Central Oregon. Basically, don't touch the hot stuff all the time. I think this piece hints at level 9, even if it's not quite there. The contrast is excellent. The detail is great. The cells are a little small, which holds it back. But as far as jewelry potential, this piece is definitely up there. This piece has exceptional color, contrast, detail, and texture. It's also 25 pounds, which makes those attributes more impressive. It's hard to film because it's heavy, but I think you can see some of the details in the cells here. This piece is large enough that I can't shoot it under the microscope, but it's got that good, bold, almost Jasper-like intensity. The detail and color within the cells is phenomenal. It's the best piece I've ever had. This is what level 9 looks like in my mind. I'll show you the whole piece here just for kicks. This is probably half of a leg bone. The center of the bone was likely here. The other half would be over there. It's got some great exterior texture, some large cells on the outside. It's a piece I feel very lucky to own. Gosh, it's cool. I know bone gets even better than this, but I can be pretty satisfied with having this one for now. To me, level 10 is a white whale. I know it exists, but I've never seen it. Most museums don't even have it. It toes the line of the impossible. And I don't say that to be mystical or hyperbolic. It's just some of the best rock, period. Well, that's all I have to say. That's enough dinosaur talk for one day. Let me know what I missed. I'm sure I glossed over 1,000 different things, but here's some dinosaur blues. Thanks for watching.